Hey guys, we're live on YouTube. My name's Dave. I'm sitting here with Mr. Jim Collison and Mr. Mike Fauché. Good evening, guys.
Greetings.
Hey, Dave.
All right. So, YouTubers, hey, this is an audio podcast. We record this in YouTube in order to we record this on YouTube in order to present it to a smaller live audience, but the main reason is that we record the audio for an audio podcast. That means this YouTube video will be an hour to an hour and a half long. The audio from this video will be used for the HomeServerShow.com podcast. I'm certainly happy if you watch the whole thing, but I want to let you know up front so there's no expectations for like reviews and all this stuff. We're going to cover a wide body of topics tonight. We're going to unbox Circle. I will do that at the top of the podcast. We'll do that in just a couple of minutes. And then after we unbox Circle, I've got some news for you. We're going to be talking networking. We're going to be talking Wi-Fi. We're going to be talking NAS. And we got a home automation segment for you. So again, this is HomeServerShow.com. And if you are live on YouTube, you can go over to HomeServerShow.com, click the live podcast link. There's a chat box there. You can chat, ask us questions, anything that you want. So don't give me thumbs down for an hour and a half YouTube. I warned you.
Love those.
I warned you.
Love those.
Love it. Okay. An hour of podcasting.
I listened for 35 minutes and heard nothing but you yammering on about blah, blah.
Forever.
Blah, blah, blah.
If it's only an hour and a half, then that means I don't get a chance to talk at all.
Hey, who's that guy? It's Mr. Mike Fauché. All right. Guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's click that big record button in the sky. Test, test. This is the Home Server Show podcast, episode number 292, recorded on November the 18th, 2015. Welcome back to the Home Server Show podcast. I'm your host, David McCabe. I'm joined with Mr. Jim Collison, Mr. Mike Fauché. How you doing tonight, guys?
Greetings, Dave. Good to be back.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, it's good to have you on again, Mr. Fauché. We talked a lot of networking and a lot of QNAP in our last episode with Mike. And tonight we're going to be doing huge dose of networking. This is like every couple of months we talk networking because that's part of the home server home automation experience. We got to do it. We're going to be unboxing a brand new product that I got in. It's sitting over here. It's MeetCircle. We're going to unbox that. And then we're going to be talking Wi-Fi and NAS and all kinds of cool stuff. We have a home automation segment for you. And we're going to get into it right now. YouTubers, if you're still watching live, you can join over at homeservershow.com/live. And if you're listening to this on audio, don't forget that follow us on Twitter at HomeServerShow, or you can follow me personally at McCabe.io, and I'll let you know show times and recording dates and all that kind of good stuff. So after we unbox MeetCircle, I've got some big news for you. I mean, some huge news for you. Tonight we'll be talking networking. I went through all that. It's just a huge packed show. First of all, rate the podcast on iTunes if you can. If you're watching live and you listen on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher on your portable device, please go over to iTunes and rate us if you would, please. Also, I've got some shopping links. We're coming up on the big shopping period, so I've got some things set up for you. So if you use a couple of links for Amazon, the Microsoft Store, Newegg, and Woot, I set up some big links. Those you don't have to remember anything. It's homeservershow.com/Amazon, homeservershow.com/Microsoft, or you can /Surface as well, or homeservershow.com/Newegg, or homeservershow.com/Woot. Any one of those quick links will take you straight to that shopping site, and the prices won't change. Everything's the same. They just give me a couple of pennies, and it helps me pay for hosting. So hopefully we'll be able to pay for hosting for the end of 2015 with the big Black Friday. One cool thing that we do at homeservershow.com and Surface Geeks is we've got forums. So over there in those forums, we've got deals and marketplaces where you can sell your stuff and find deals on new stuff. It's absolutely a great time of the year to check out those forums because guys will be posting deals and what to find and what they're going to get and who's going to be waiting in line for the Xbox and, you know, all that kind of stuff. We have a good time with it. We don't just push you to go buy stuff from us, and we appreciate that, but we also like to have fun with it because you guys know that I'm pretty crazy. I love the deals, and I will be out there Black Friday. I always get involved some way or another for something. Okay, so please use those short links. I'll put that in the show notes so you don't have to remember it. You can come back and click if you would like to. Lastly, do you have an ad blocker on your browser? I do. I use uBlock. I think it's called uBlock. Hover. uBlock Origin. That's what I use for Chrome. But sites that I visit, like Jim's site and Mike Fauchet's site, as soon as I visit them, I click the uBlock and I whitelist them. Because when I do my Amazon shopping, I go to Jim's site and I purchase through Amazon. I can't purchase it through myself. That way he gets the pennies to do his hosting. So we're asking any site that you visit that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be my site. It could be Jim's site or any of the other sites, especially the Geeks Network's sites. Turn off your ad blocker on those sites or whitelist them. That way you don't block the JavaScripts that we use for shopping. Say you look at a hard drive from my forum. If you use an ad blocker, you go out and buy that hard drive, you're just paying Newegg. You're not giving any credit to the forums or the person that referred you there. So check that out. Don't forget we're a member of the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com. Check that out for more forums and podcasts, cool podcasts like this one, and the Home Gadget Geeks by Mr. Jim Collison. Okay, Circle. I'm going to have to move the mic, guys. I got to go over here. This is pretty cool. We talk networking a lot, and this has popped up at a perfect time. We talk about like pfSense and Sophos routers and about tracking, blocking bad sites for kids, and that's kind of what this Circle does. Now, it's not set up, I don't think it's set up to block bad sites. It may. I will give you a definite rundown as soon as I'm able to get it plugged in. But tonight we're just going to unbox this thing. So Circle recognizes and manages every device and provides a single view of the family's online experience. Now, when I read about this, the thing that I was kind of intrigued by is I can put my kids' iPads into Circle and I am able to track their time. So if they're using a certain app more than the other, especially when they're jumping into Minecraft and they're supposed to be using some of their math and reading apps for school, I'll be able to see that. Also, I can turn it off. That's another promise of this app is I can set timers. So you get an hour of Minecraft and then I need you to stop. And then after the hour of that Minecraft, boom, it shuts off. That's the promise of the box. Now, as soon as I tweeted this out, I got some contact from these guys. So they're going to be watching and making sure that I get everything right. And they gave me some tips and they gave me some things to look out for when setting it up. This is $99, and I know that you saw the Disney on here. It says Disney plus Circle. Well, Disney has teamed up to help these guys. Circle provides families with Disney entertainment that parents trust and children love. You will have access to Disney videos, blogs, GIFs, memes, emojis, music, games, characters, and lots more, all through the MeetCircle. Let's get started. So that seems kind of cool too. I'm buying it for the fact that I can monitor my kids' behavior online. I want to see what they're doing. I'm kind of getting Google on them. I want to track, and I want it to benefit me. We have Fozzie Bear here. This is the first time for me to open this. So Circle, this one has return information, terms and policies, and support information. So pretty standard right there. The Fozzie Bear card. Each family member has their own MyCircle page for access to a personal dashboard, I think for the Disney stuff. Now this is a physical device. This hooks into the Wi-Fi network, and you guys jump in at any time, Mike and Jim. I know that we're all going to have questions about this thing. I assume, guys, that it's going to proxy, and I assume there's going to be some delay in trade-off to, you know, get that type of information. I probably don't want my iPad to run through this, or my Android tablets or phones to run through this, but I don't know what this is. We're gonna look.
Okay, that's one of the things, you know, when back in the day when I was kind of monitoring the kids' traffic, and there's a couple different applications I used. One of the things I found is if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't really fully understand the experience I put them under, and so it was, you know. That's one of those things as the admin, as the house admin, you can certainly opt yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
There were moments where I had something configured wrong or whatever, and they come complain to me, and I'm like, "What are you kids? Fine, you know, it works just great."
Right.
So you'd go troubleshoot it, and you'd realize, oh crap, it was slowing it down, or it wasn't working properly, and so I think that's one of those, you know, every situation's different, but I think that's one of those things for sure.
So you're telling me I should try it?
You should at least have one device that runs through it.
I need to get in there to make sure it's not just killing.
Well, then it's even working
experience.
sometimes too, right? You have this, you know, you throw it on there and you're like, oh, I'm going to take care of my kids, and then, you know, realize it's not doing, or you missed a configuration in there somewhere, and
sure.
So you should absolutely get one of your devices on there and kind of test it out, see what the experience is like. Plus, test the functionality. You may not have gotten the filters set correctly, or I don't know how the software works.
This has an app, so you go to meetcircle.com/app and to download the app. It's on iOS now, and it is coming to Android. So you download the app, and then you manage it that way. And then I'm just going to have to report back. This is a pretty cool looking device. So I will definitely give you my experience, my thoughts. But for $99, I thought, you know, this is pretty cool if it works. And
where's the best place to get that right now, Dave?
MeetCircle.com.
I would actually be interested in really finding out about this device, because this is something that people ask me all the time, and there's really not a good answer that isn't overly complicated. So something like this would be really cool to recommend if it works.
Yeah, if they could actually get those pieces working, right, Mike? This has been the thing as home admins, we've always been able to cobble things together, but it's never easy.
Well, and this is not an easy topic. I mean, this is something, you know, somebody comes in and has very little experience. It's a mother or father, and they have kids, and they say, you know, what do you recommend? Well, I recommend you just sit there and watch them, because there's nothing that's really just super easy to just plug in and go. This really has that potential.
Yeah, I thought that too, and ended up taking the YouTube app off of their iPads. You know, because they can get into some videos that they just can't control it, and you start cooking dinner, and all of a sudden you hear the F-bomb coming from the living room. You're like, what's going on? I think the time limit thing is actually more valuable than some of the other pieces. For us, I had 4 boys all competing at one point, all competing for the same computer, and we could have purchased more, but it was like we wanted to have a physical bottleneck in the house to kind of keep that down. And so for us, man, those years, there were a couple years in there where they get an hour every day to kind of goof around, and they had to schedule it and do some other stuff with it. We used a application called Enough, ENUFF, in its day, but then they could earn more by doing chores or those kinds of things. They could earn extra time, and man, we got some work done
in the house with that time, with that motivation in the right place and the time limit. So I think if you're in that situation with your kids and this has a timer on it, and it sounds like they would log in and the timer would start and it would give them a certain amount of time. And then we use chores to kind of give them more, hey, this is worth an hour, this one's worth 2 hours, whatever. That worked really well.
Yeah, yeah, make them earn it, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we do. I saw on here, this intrigues me, that they didn't just make it Wi-Fi based. There's an Ethernet connection, so that
Is that on the top though, or how does that thing sit?
It looks like that this is the back.
Okay.
Like you would sit it.
Gotcha.
Like
gotcha.
Here.
Yeah.
And then plug it in. It's got USB power and Ethernet, and oh, that's a button. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Right.
So that's probably power. And I've got a central location in my house. We're going to be talking about Wi-Fi here in a little bit. I've got a central location in my house where I have an access point, a switch, and I can plug this in just real easy, and it's going to sit up. I hope that that's going to work.
Well, range would be interesting, right? I think you
range
mentioned that
is
earlier.
going to be interesting.
Well, how's that going to work with range? On the timer standpoint, it also has a bedtime. This was another thing that we did is I shut off to most of the PCs in the house. I shut off the internet at midnight. That got the kids. I had one high schooler that just would not go to bed, and that I knew it when it was midnight. By the way, I had trouble getting in bed before midnight myself, but I could always tell it was midnight because I would hear steps going to their rooms as the internet was down and was done for them. So another good feature. Mike, I think I cut you off. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I actually don't remember what I was going to say, but you guys were talking about range, and I was thinking, geez, if it has low range, would probably be a benefit for what this device is being used for. Because if you're concerned about filtering kids, you probably don't want them to be able to go clear to the other side of the house.
Yeah. Well, I like the feature of on your phone. They have, you can pause the internet for dinner. So, it's like instead of, we play cell phone Jenga sometimes when we get all the kids together, where they stack it up in the middle of the table, and the first one to touch their phone pays. That's kind of our tradition at the house, right? Keeps the boys from checking their phones. But on a device like this, there's a click off button, or on the app, you can just turn it off and turn it back on. If it's as simple as that for parents, Dave, I think that is. I mean, if I can go to an app on my phone and turn this thing off during dinner and just have that time to talk to each other. We're here at the Collison house. We are particularly bad. We're all geeks, so we get to the dinner table and we're worse. The adults are worse than the kids. We're all checking our phone, and I got the Surface up or something like that. So pretty cool.
Yeah, fortunately I've really nipped that in the butt. If my family let me do that, I probably would. But we don't bring them to the table. We don't bring them. Yeah. We don't bring them while we shop. We don't bring them to restaurants. My kids do not get, the phone.
Well, but it's a little different. Yeah, they don't have phones yet, right? When they get these phones, that's a little bit different because you expect them to carry it on them. So with all my kids,
train them well so they're, we're not down. And I see it at every restaurant. You see, like, mom taking out a kid, and mom's looking, and the child's head is down, and they're just ticky-tacking. So I hope we don't get into that, but I'm sure
one of those things
someday we will.
You can work on it when you get to the restaurant. Stack your phones, right? We just stack them, and it's funny, we get a lot of comments on that, and that's a low-tech solution to a high-tech problem.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, works well.
Yeah. So I will report back on MeetCircle. You can go out to meetcircle.com and check out the box. It's $99.
Just looking at their website, I hope people don't get turned off, because it takes you a while to figure out that this is an actual product after all the Disney propaganda that's on here. But the product itself looks really cool, so I think it's definitely want to hear about that, because I've already got a couple people that want to know about this. So
yeah, hey, for $99,
it's cheap.
That's a pretty good deal. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, that's what when you go to my Amazon links and Newegg links and Microsoft, that's what it pays for. I review these things. I stick my neck out with my wallet to buy this stuff, and if it works good, I keep it. If it doesn't work, it goes on eBay. Or I give it away at the meetup. All right. So I wanted to, for everybody else, all you home server show guys out there, the podcast starts now. But I've got news for you. So we got Jim here. I got Fauché here. I got Jim here. I got Fauché here. Next week, next month, I hope to have Jim here and Fauché here. So that's the news. We're going to announce kind of a tentative permanent hosting position.
Tentative permanent hosting position, yeah.
For Mr. Mike Fauché, the PC Doc.
Welcome no, Mike, it'll be good to have you on a regular basis and kind of balance Dave and I out. You know, we sometimes still bend very consumer electronics with stuff. We've both gone that way, but hopefully you'll bring some balance back to the force.
I'm not sure I know what that means, but okay.
Come on, Star Wars comes out in a couple weeks. So everything's got to have a Star Wars motif tonight.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, yeah, for these couple of months.
Although if we were really good, it'd be Hunger Games, because that's the one that comes out the last movie comes out this week. I think Star Wars is about 3 weeks.
Yeah, actually, it comes out on the 20th, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I guess that's more like 4 weeks away.
Okay. So if you're watching on YouTube, we're having some grainy video tonight, so I don't know what's going on, but hey, this is an audio podcast. We will go from here on out for audio. So, Mr. Fauché, joining the Home Server Show crew as a permanent, semi-permanent. We're going to work this out, kind of sporadic, not regular, but regular show host.
I hope everybody really understood what you just said.
That's the title right there. It's good to have you, Mike.
Thank you.
CES, is anybody going? If you're out there listening, you're going to CES, please let me know. I booked my flights. You know I was going to do it. I don't know why I was saying I wasn't going to do it. You knew I was going to do it. I did it. The reason I did it, and I'm not going all week. I'm not doing this 7-day crazed CES thing. I'm going actually Monday through Friday, which I'm going to miss a couple of shows. I'm going to miss a couple of my favorite things, but I found, actually my wife found, Frontier Airlines had a sale, a nonstop for $178 round trip. So I could not pass that up. Yeah. I'm riding on the wing, but it's $178. You can't beat that.
Comes with a cargo strap,
Jim, I've decided Frontier Airlines pays for everything. If you have more than 3 nostril hairs, they charge you. So that's just how Frontier Airlines is. I'm going to be going in a backpack. 4 nights.
Oh, wow.
Clothes. Everything I need in a single backpack. I don't know. I think I can use a small tube of toothpaste and
3 ounces. You get 3-ounce containers for all your stuff. Throw it in the backpack.
I may even stop at a Walgreens when I arrive. So that's what I'm doing. So if anybody's going to CES this year, Jim, I know you're not going because
I'll be in San Diego. Yeah, I'll be in San Diego. My son graduates from Marine Basic Training, so I'll be out in San Diego for that.
I've hit up Mike. He said he's not going.
He's a smart man.
Not this year. Maybe he'll go.
Actually, love to go, but not. Yeah, I won't make it this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love you to go too. It's been a while since we've.
I haven't been to CES in 3 years?
Since the Sahara was up and running.
Oh man.
Jeez. There's a milestone, yeah.
That brings back memories. Pretty sure there was a dead body in my room.
Yeah, we stayed at the Sahara. We labeled it. All right. So we're going to venture into networking. I've got a couple of links in the show notes, guys. We're just going to kind of roll through some networking stuff. I want to kind of touch on some competitors of this product that we talk about a lot, and we'll probably be bringing up a lot. I'm not going to say I shouldn't say competitors to the MeetCircle product. It's a couple of router products, PFSense and Sophos, I know are one. Mike, you're still using, what's the other one? Not Sophos, but
Untangle?
Untangle, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys use Untangle in tandem with pfSense as the router. And this is really big out there in the homeservershow.com forums. And everybody has their 2 cents. You know, everybody has a favorite. It's kind of Chevy versus Ford, you know, sometimes. But Sophos has a brand new version that has come out of beta. And pfSense I haven't checked on in a long time, guys. I still have a pfSense router sitting standby. That's my standby router. I am that geek. I do have 2 routers. They're in the same spot. They're ready to go in case one, you know, should die. I could, you know, if I'm out of town, say I'm at CES, I could have someone just go in there and say, okay, turn this one off, turn that one on, go. Let me just poll the group here. Poche, what are you running these days?
I'm still running Untangle. There's a little bit of story as to why, but I'm also experimenting with Sophos. I have one kind of set up in a test environment, and you know, it's going to take a while before that ever gets into production because you have to have a PhD in something to actually run Sophos. And so far, I only have my associate, so I got more graduating to do before I can actually, you know, deploy Sophos. But it's moving. I've been running it for about a week now and trying to debug it. But Untangle actually really works well for me. It's very easy to set up. It's very easy to configure. It allows me to do everything I want. And the only downside of it, and the only reason I'd even be considering getting rid of it, is because of a thing that happened to me here, 6 months ago. I actually have their subscription service. So I pay a hell of a lot of money every month for
That's right. Yeah,
for their package, and I only have 2 apps, so I don't. It's not like I got everything, but it's a significant cost for that amount of protection, and it works really, really well. But you get tired of paying, you know, $50+ a month for, you know, for the benefit of protection when there are products out there that will do it, you know, hopefully almost as effectively. So that's what prompted me to go look for Sophos. Got some input from IT geeks out on your forums, and they seem to be having pretty good luck with it. So I thought, okay, it's time to, you know, put it in a box and see what happens. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Interesting. I do have a load of Sophos loaded up on an HP N54L. Well, I've got 3 NICs in it, I think. And I just, like you, Mike, I mean, I must have my bachelor, or my degree plan has not even gotten to the point where I can study this thing. It's difficult,
weird.
and I just learned pfSense, and I still don't have a good grasp on that one.
Yeah. Are you running the latest version of Sophos or the version 9?
No, I am on the prior version. I didn't want to load up the beta because I heard that you had to just
It's released now. The final version's out. The XG, the Firewall XG, is out. It's definitely worth, you know, let's put it this way: if you're going to go and learn something, you might as well learn the most current. But it is not in beta anymore. Most of the stuff I saw, I don't want to say most. Some of the stuff I saw was actually pretty easy and straightforward. I got a kick out of some of the conversations from Drashna and such with the simple thing like port forwarding. Is, I guess you don't get to do that until you get the PhD level, but some of the other things like configuring networks and stuff were, because I configure 2 separate networks here, sometimes 3, but two all the time. For security reasons, and that allowed me to do that fairly easily, and I would say certainly as easy as Untangle. Some of the other stuff is pretty straightforward, but some of the terminology they use and the multi-step processes they have to have you do is sort of bizarre.
Yeah, you know, and I ran through that. pfSense is the same way. Mapping an outside port to an inside port should be simple. And I understand the complexity and, some of these big routers, you want to route it, through different mechanisms, and you want to apply it to the firewall, or you don't want to apply it to the firewall, or you want to apply it to the inspection mechanism, or you don't. But sometimes you just want to take an outside port, 3389, and map it, gateway to an inside IP address to a different port, something odd that someone couldn't guess, and you just want to map it. And you just want, I want to do that in 20 seconds. But
right.
in pfSense, I had a cheat sheet this long, and I used to run a Zywall USG20, and I had a cheat sheet, a mile long in order to, multiple pages in order to map ports from the outside to the inside. It's a pain in the butt.
That's sort of how this is. I don't think it's quite in the 2 or 3 page category, but they have made it so confusing. If I look at Untangle, you've got like 2 fields to fill out, and it's so simple. It's literally a brain dead process as long as you can read English. And when you try to replicate something as simple as a port forward on Sophos, it's painful. I haven't even got it to work yet, so I'm waiting for Drashna and IT Geeks to go pound this out and figure out how to do this, and hopefully I can benefit and kind of ride on their shirt tails on this one, because it's just a little bit on the deep side. I'm sure once you do it once, it's probably, that's pretty straightforward. But until you figure out the magic, 18 steps that you got to do, it's kind of challenging a little bit.
Yeah, and if you hear us say IT Geeks and Drashna several times, and you catch us in the middle here, we're talking about the homeservershow.com /forums. These are guys in the forums that run these apps. Drashna, you can find him easily out there. He's a moderator in the forums, and he's got his own web page that he does like tutorials on Sophos. But now he is trying to catch up with this new version. And
he's got a rated R review on the port forwarding process on his site. So if you,
it's that painful. It is that painful. So that is why I'm still running an Airport Extreme. Okay, everybody can throw rotten fruit at me now. Yes, running an Apple product. It's an Airport Extreme. It's a good router. It works. It's fast, and I can map a port, in a split second. Only thing I hate about it is it's limited to 50 IP addresses. That's routing. It's also limited to an app. You have to run an app. It does not have a web back end. You cannot just get into it. I made, where did I go recently? We went to Universal Studios for fall break, and so I had to jump in to my home network over a remote session, fire up the app, map a port through, and then jump onto my Synology box. Because before I left, I had forgot to map through surveillance station. So I had to do that. But it was that easy. I did it very quickly. So I am waiting to replace that. I would love to replace that with something a little more, what I would consider a little better reporting mechanism. It doesn't report DHCP very well. It doesn't report bandwidth very well. It was one of the things I loved about pfSense is I could bring up the web page and I could drill down to an IP address that was consuming a lot of bandwidth, and I could tell, during podcast night what was consuming that bandwidth. What I couldn't do is I wasn't at the pf sense level I needed in order to limit that bandwidth at that certain time, but you can do that. There's all kinds of little bells and whistles, and some of the guys out in the chat know a lot about that, and a lot of the guys in the forums know a lot about that too. So I'm not quite there yet. Jim?
pfSense for sure. I was just logging in to see mine has been up now 100 days, 1 hour, 27 minutes, 41 seconds, and I think the only reason it went down the last time was the power reset here in the house. Or I think Sarah, we were having some internet trouble, and she thought that was the wireless router, and so I think she. But that's that box is an old D525 Atom mini board with a 30 gig SSD drive on it, 4 gig of memory. And so it's probably, that's maybe 5 years old now, I think, if we think about those early generations of Atoms that came out. I'm trying to remember how long ago. It's in a little shuttle case, maybe 4 years ago. That has just been the most stable, reliable box that I have. It just works, got dual NICs in it. Just works well. And I don't spend a lot of time in pfSense. So I've got it set up, got it set once, I got it backed up. I back it up every time I do an upgrade to it. I think I'm on 2.2.4, and there's an update available for that, which I probably won't apply. If it's working, why break it? So yeah, pfSense has been a great little router for me. I continue to go back to it as a go-to, and it's easy to install. I think the first time it took me half a day to get it all figured out and get it up and running and all that stuff, and then I just leave it. I just don't mess with it.
Yeah, I agree about the it running, and it will run forever. I've had mine on a UPS, and it ran forever. Very rock solid. It's not Windows, So
no.
And it runs on very little hardware. You need 2 NICs, of course, and I think pfSense is pretty easy to set up. It walks you through. I thought Sophos was pretty easy to set up as well. Inside NIC, outside NIC. Yeah. Do you want DHCP? Yes. No. Okay. You're done. Go.
And once you get that part right, it's pretty easy. Even with pfSense, getting that first part right can be a little weird the first time.
I can tell you the install on the new version doesn't even ask you those things. You actually basically set up. It has to have a primary port for configuration. You set that up. It detects your NICs, but it's not until you actually go into the configuration a couple layers down that you actually set what's DHCP and which port isn't. Because you have total control over which ports get DHCP and which ones are just commanded ports. That took me a little bit of time to figure out, because I think all of us are used to having that feature enabled by default, and you just kind of plug it in and then you kind of work your way in, from there. But this doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, well, that's kind of weird that it doesn't ask some questions on install. But
it asks you questions, just not the right questions.
So they're working through that. So here's the thing. We're talking about networking. Untangle has the ability to add modules, kind of like Circle. You could add a module. Mike was talking about paying a monthly fee. He's obviously added antivirus and probably a spyware module, right?
I added the applications filter that actually looks at all the different, peer-to-peer protocols, all that kind of stuff that you don't necessarily know is running. Okay.
And so you're able to do that, which is really kind of cool. It has a GUI that looks like a stacked, rack where you can watch not watch the packets, but you can kind of visualize how things are routed, to the router via NAT, DHCP, and through all the filters and the levels. So that was what got me. Is I wanted to have that extra protection, because I just gave my 8-year-old a laptop, and it just scared the bejesus out of me that already he needs a laptop, and he's brought home an iPad from school. So not only does he have his personal iPad that he games on, he's got one from school. So yet there's another MAC address I need to watch, and he's got a laptop in order to do writing a little better. And I feel everybody should learn to type and not learn to type on a glass screen. So he's got a nice little Asus. It's a non-touch router. I think I'm going to give him the Surface 3, but it's a lot of it's a lot of things for a parent to manage. So that's why we talk about routers a lot in those forums.
Real quick, Dave, just let me explain to everyone why I opted to go this particular direction, because one of the things that, and this is a really strange feeling when it happens to you, I actually received a legal letter stating that certain files were being shared out of my network and to basically cease and desist. And of course, I freaked out because I'm really tight on things and security, and I make sure that everything is on the up and up. That's one of the driving forces behind having two networks and such. Anyway, long story short, it appears that something got into one of the kids' browsers and flung out a couple of songs that were, it was just a couple of, they didn't even have a whole lot of music on there. And once it got out there, of course they pick up on that because they scan that stuff with the metadata. And I had to basically reformat that system, and I went through a lot of extremes to try and lock everything down. And one of the things when I installed the application module, what I found was a couple of the systems had had some peer-to-peer software installed via some games. One of the peer-to-peer protocols was Hamachi, and there was another one I don't recall. But once you do that, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. So the ability to block that stuff was really important to me, and knock on wood, since then it's been rock solid. So it's a scary thing when something weird happens to you that you're not deliberately doing, and you don't even know about it. You certainly don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wrap up routing a little bit, and I know I'm kind of leaving everyone hanging, but here's your homework. Jump out there into the forums. There's a networking section just for networking to talk about routers and switches and wireless. Start a thread. Tell me what you're running, and tell me how you're doing. Tell me if you're on the old version, the new version, whatever. Zywall, pfSense, Sophos, Untangle. If you're just running a Netgear and you've had good luck and you've got good security, how are you securing the PCs behind it? Are you running software on those? Are you doing something special? We can all learn probably from what you are running at home, and I would love for you to share that with not only me, I'd like to know, but share that with the rest of the listeners and everybody out there in the forums. That would be cool. I know you guys have blogs, but there's a lot of folks out there listening that have personal blogs, and it's the right time of year to monetize your blog. If you would like to visit homeservershow.com/skimlinks, that's SKIMLINKS. I'll put a link in the show notes, homeservershow.com/skimlinks. You can monetize that blog, so if you put like a keyword out there, Newegg hard drive, somebody clicks on that, you're going to get a couple of pennies if they go out there and buy that. You can monetize your blog, and it doesn't do anything like crazy. It's not ad based. You're not going to get flashing bang the squirrel ads or whatever those things are. It's kind of crazy stuff. It's just kind of a small JavaScript that runs in the background. So if you have a blog, you need to be running Skimlinks. That's what I choose to run. I think I've gotten a couple of people to run this thing. It's so efficient, and it does such a good job that I get better numbers via Skimlinks than I do direct Amazon referrals. And they actually give you a couple of more dollars if that link goes through Skimlinks. So homeservershow.com/skimlinks. If you sign up there, and I think if that's not a referral, if you say you got referred from homeservershow.com, I'll get a couple of extra pennies too. So it's a great time of year to do that. And that's kind of why I roll that ad right here at this time frame. So let me look up on my blog, mccabe.io. It's my personal blog, to see when I put this out there. February 15th. 2015. February 15th, 2015, I bought a Wi-Fi system from my house. The reason I'm bringing that up is I do not have that Wi-Fi system installed in my house. Not because I don't like it, because it has not shipped to me yet. I know you've heard me talk about Eero. E-E-R-O. I tweeted this out, and I'm sorry, because I know some of you guys bought into this product. Eero, I'll give you the link of the post on my personal blog, and actually I will throw it out there in the chat right now. They've delayed their product. Now, this is not Kickstarter. They took a Kickstarter type focus to release their product, but they didn't do official Kickstarter. They collected funds immediately. So you threw down your funds, they collected it, and they said, we're going to ship in the summer. And it's February. I'm thinking, I can wait till summer. I'm cool. I will wait till summer. Summer comes. We're going to ship late summer. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Late summer comes. We're going to ship in the fall. You see this? You see where this is going, right? The fall comes. It's cold outside, fellas. All my leaves are on the ground. They're not in the trees. We're going to ship early 2016. So
that's the risk. That's the risk you take, right?
I know it.
Those kinds of,
I know it, but I'm not happy about it.
I
don't
have
to be happy about it.
No, you don't have to be happy. But you know, that's the risk you take to get it on the ground floor of some of these things. You know, otherwise, I mean, the other trend is like the Echo or some of those other things where it's a waiting list to start with, and you wait forever to get the thing.
Right. Let me tell you how I arrived at this solution. I have a spread out house, 3 floors. I like strong Wi-Fi. I like strong Wi-Fi, and I don't know why. Those other APs cannot deny. I will not sing anymore. But it's hard to get Wi-Fi signal throughout this house. Jim, you've been here. You know this. You've probably been in my guest room, you know, tapping your phone going, where's the Wi-Fi, Dave? So I thought that this would be a good solution for me. Distributed Wi-Fi, and it roams. That's the big thing, is to have one SSID that you can use your phone in the living room, and then when you retire at night, you can check your whatever, and then put your phone on a charge. It's still connected to a Wi-Fi, although a different access point was still a nice, strong signal. I wasn't getting that. A lot of folks have their Wi-Fi. They think when you say Wi-Fi, it's one box, right? It's got a router, a Wi-Fi, radio, and a switch in it. That's internet to a lot of folks. Well, that usually sits where the cable ingresses into the house, right? It comes in to your basement somewhere or to the side of the house, possibly in your garage, and then it terminates right there. And then you route that coax, if you're on cable, you know, somewhere in the house, and that's where you put your router. Well, for me, it's in the basement. I get it. I have an Ethernet handoff. I put that in my router, and that's where I have my internet. So I can't have, you know, I can't have a Nighthawk sitting down there, or you know, one of those new Synology routers. I can't put that down there. What I can do is put my router down there, separate the Wi-Fi, distribute the Wi-Fi around the house via Cat5. That's how I do it. Right now, I'm doing it with this product. If you're on video, you see this big white Martian lander hockey puck thing. It's Ubiquity. Ubiquity Networks runs its own operating system, and they have different products. I bought the cheap product, 3 2.4 gigahertz access points. It is, though, BGN. Well, BGN. and it was 199 bucks on Amazon. So 200 bucks. It comes with free software. You don't have to pay for the software. You have to put that on a Windows machine, and I believe it runs on Java, if I'm not mistaken. I think it has to run Java. I have that on my 2012 R2 server, and that is running a Hyper-V Windows 7 client and runs this software for that. You don't have to have the software up and running for the Wi-Fi to work. No, it's just for reporting, which actually does a pretty cool job at reporting. That's what sold me. I really liked to have to be able to see what devices are connected to what access point, because you can get an idea of where you should move those access points. If you've got an access point too close to another one, you're going to know right off just by looking at who's connected to what. You're going to see all those phones and iPads connected to something that's too far away, and that means you've got a couple too close together. You need to kind of spread those out a little bit. And it balances that, and it allows you to walk room to room and connect seamlessly to the strongest signal. Now, sometimes endpoints meaning your phones, your iPads, your laptops, sometimes they have trouble with it. The most trouble I've found with an endpoint is like IoT devices, Internet of Things devices, like a D-Link water sensor, or some type of plug that needs Wi-Fi, or some type of sensor. It sees the Roam network SSID kind of odd, in some odd fashion, and it'll connect to one access point, and it will not connect to a stronger signal somewhere else. So, but I mean, that's really off the wall kind of stuff. I've had pretty good luck with connecting and roaming. My problem is speed. So you take a look at my realization post back February 2015. I was like, I need speed. I want roaming, and I want speed in my Wi-Fi. I think I need 3 access points. I think I may need more. I was blasting these Eero guys. They wanted 500 bucks for their kit. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. 500 bucks? I just paid 200 bucks. And I can get a Nighthawk for, back in the day they were $299. Those high-end, monster claw looking with 17 antennas. It's like $500. You guys are nuts. You guys are crazy. I'm tweeting them. You guys, it's too expensive. You guys are crazy. Too expensive. And I thought, let me price this out. Let me get some Ubiquity products that I need. So far, I've wasted $200 on these hockey pucks. Let's find something. Now, these prices are going to be old. This is February 2015. But I wanted faster and better and longer range access points. And I did the math, and it was more expensive than these Eero guys. So, okay, I threw them my money. I threw Eero the money. I did the pre-order. I got 3 access points for 300 bucks. And you can pick up an additional Eero. You can add on for like 100 and a quarter, maybe 150 bucks. You can throw on, an additional access point. Now, some more information. The Ubiquity products are PoE, Power over Ethernet. They give you in the box 3 access points, 3 PoE injectors. Now, these injectors are their own style of PoE, but it's really not a big deal because they give you the injector. It works very well. I have crappy Cat 5e wiring in my house, and it works just fine. It powers the access points anywhere I want to put them. And I got to tell you, that's my first foray into PoE, and it was awesome. This is the coolest thing since sliced bread and snaps, I'm telling you. It's very, very cool. The Eero guys are powered devices. So wherever you set these things, you're going to have a power plug and an Ethernet cable. So one strike against you right there. Right there. I told him, I said, maybe version 2, you can get PoE and I'll be in. But I was desperate. I bought in. I put my $300 down. And I wait. And I wait. And I hope I can grab somebody at CES and, shake the daylights out of them and tell them I need my Wi-Fi.
Well, there you go. That justifies your CES trip.
Are those Eero units AC?
They are, yes, they are.
That's, for $100, that's a really good price if you got them. If you got 3 of them for $300, but the lack of PoE was sort of thoughtless on their part.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree.
Especially if you're going to be in a market where you're selling multiple ones, and that's what everybody wants. Drop those in, plug them in, screw them to the wall, and call.
Well, that's the thing. You're usually talking about ceiling mounts, right? I mean,
yeah.
What are you gonna do? These
guys are different, though. Right. These guys are different. They're looking at your Apple crowd, your designer crowd. This is supposed to be a thing of beauty you can put out in front of your TV, and you can look at it and say, "This is my Wi-Fi. Here's the app. Jump on the network. I can send you a token or whatever. You're on my Wi-Fi. I can control that." It's beautimous. Also, you're supposed to be able to drop in extra access points and not have to do Ethernet home runs back to the router. You're supposed to just be able to extend your network seamlessly with one SSID. So they've got a pretty cool product, as explained to me, as shown to me via screenshots. It is run with an app, and it looked impressive. A lot of people have bought into this thing. They raised millions. They raised millions of dollars, and they've yet to ship. So I'm having trouble the other day. This is my 10-15 minute history lesson on my Wi-Fi issues. I'm having trouble. I run the Nexus 6P with Google Fi, and if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't have Google Fi, Project Fi. This thing is having trouble connecting to my network. Well, come to find out, it's probably the phone and not necessarily the network. So I'm trying to connect to the Airport Extreme, and it's having trouble. And then I started having, I brought out an additional access point, and I programmed that. So that just brings me back to the Wi-Fi woes. I just wanted to open that back up as a conversation somewhere in the forums, and I know, Mike, you found the link to it, and you've been talking with some guys out in the forums about a new product. I purchased for $36 whole a TP-Link access point, and my entire house is running on said TP-Link access point, and it was painful to install. I'm going to tell you that right up front. I configured it, I attached to it, I backed it up to a bin file, I upgraded the firmware, I tried to reinstall the bin file to put my configuration back on. That didn't work. From one firmware to the next, the firmware changed the default IP address of this machine. So I'm trying to get into it with the old IP address, like a .1. Well, it had changed it to a .254. Like, are you kidding me? That's not good, TP-Link. So that was kind of crazy. But I did get it set up, and it is working. The reason I did the firmware is I did this yesterday. I woke up this morning. I had to reset every single end client because they wouldn't connect to the thing. So, I finally did everything, and I've been running on it for 18 hours now, so everything's fine. I'm going to get up in the morning, publish this podcast, and I'll let you know in the show notes if this thing took a crap overnight and I have no Wi-Fi in the morning. You know, I rely on good Wi-Fi. I know you guys have home automation. I have home automation. I've got home automation for my home automation. I've got extra water sensors all over the house that connect just to Wi-Fi. I have to have solid Wi-Fi. So that's what brings me off of my soapbox and into the forums to see if I should be running something else. Now, somebody in the chat threw out Exclaim Wireless. I will throw that out there into the show notes so you can see what those guys were talking about. But Mike, someone in the forums was talking about an open mesh product, and it sounded really cool. And I think you were involved with that thread.
Yeah, actually, the thread was announced by IT Geeks in the forum, and I had the same trials and tribulations you did. The only difference is I actually found something that worked really well. I ended up running ingenious access points. The problem is again the difficulty level in setting it up was, it just becomes a pain in the neck after a while when you just got to study so hard to figure out how to configure this stuff. But it worked. It worked really well, and I used it for quite some time. And then I found out about this open mesh product, and I said, this might be an issue. This might be something that will help me address expansion, because expansion is always a trick. It's a science to try to get stuff to work right with the channels and with, kind of doing a mesh type configuration with your SSIDs. And I looked at the description and I said, I got to try this. And it was a brand new product. It was an AC based access point. And what intrigued me was much the same as what you got from your Eero, but was the ability to set it up with a cloud-based service. So basically, you log into a website or an iPhone, iPad app, whatever you're using, and you can just start configuring it. And it was about the simplest thing I ever did. I mean, I had Wi-Fi up and running in just a few minutes. Unfortunately, I had some initial problems with it. I had difficulty with iOS devices dropping after about 3 or 4 days. They would lock themselves out of the network, and you couldn't do anything to get back in. It kept asking you for the password, which you kept typing in, and it still didn't work unless you rebooted the access point. Well, I ended up working with the guys at OpenMesh, phenomenal group, just did an outstanding job in trying to support their product and help them test a couple of versions of the software, the firmware. And on this last version, they nailed it. And it's just been phenomenal ever since. So now all the side effects, the issues went away. I still have just a real easy setup. You can configure 4 separate SSIDs. You can decide whether you bridge those SSIDs or to your network. You can actually, because by default it actually creates sort of a VLAN type approach where it doesn't actually connect to your internal resources for security purposes, but you can choose which one of the SSIDs can bridge over so you can access your cameras and home automation stuff and all that. But it's configured through a site called CloudTrax, and you basically go in there and you fill in the blanks, so to speak, hit save, and it configures it. All you need is the MAC ID, which is on the device. And expansion or scalability was just phenomenal. I mean, you pick the access point, say add it to this network, and it just does everything for you. It sets up the encrypted, communication between, the different APs, and it's just a phenomenal device. So if you don't get your Eero, whatever they call it, definitely look at the open mesh, because I think it's at a point now where they're past the .1 or the .1 or the 1.0, I should say, version, and they've got a nice solid product now, and they're just really, really good at helping you.
Now, which one, since we're talking about it, which one did you go with?
The MR1750, which is the AC-based one. It's not cheap, but I'll tell you what, the range on these things is the best I've ever seen. The best Wi-Fi access point I had prior to this was my Ingenious,
Mm-hmm.
and I could go basically into my patio a little bit. But with the open mesh, I actually don't need any more than one. It actually covers the entire house. It covers outside. It covers in the garage. Um, I can go into my jacuzzi and stream content and not have to worry about Wi-Fi. It's been the performance has just been spectacular.
Okay. Now I see that that's $225 on the
Yeah.
Open Mesh website. Do they sell these out? I mean, is this at
Yeah,
Amazon
Amazon.
or?
Yeah, Amazon sells it, but it's
Same
224.
same price on
Yeah,
Amazon.
it's
Yeah.
it's not it's not a cheap product, but if you look at the capabilities, the hassle and setup, and if you look at competitive products that high quality AC web access points, they're really close to that price. So you might spend 30 or 40 bucks more, but I'll tell you what. There's no going back for me. I just love the hassle-free configuration. It's just a real easy way to go, and the performance is just outstanding. I mean, I have 12 to 15 Wi-Fi devices at any given time, and I've never seen any type of sluggish. I can consistently get 120 to 150 megabits per second download speeds off of my Wi-Fi devices, and it's good. I don't have any problems streaming, connecting, doing anything I need to do.
Hmm. Very interesting. And they have some other products as well.
There's one little catch though. Well, it's not really a catch. That 224 is just a device. So if you need a PoE injector, you got to buy that separately. Or if you want to plug it to a wall with one of the bricks, then you got to buy that separately. And if you want a special outdoor enclosure, you're gonna buy that separately. So it's somewhat modular. I opted to go for a PoE switch, just a little 4-port device, and that worked out really well. So it allows me to run a couple different access points at the same time, even though I don't actually need it right now. I ended up buying that in lieu of trying to buy injectors and trying to clog up with.
Now the outdoor enclosure is only $20, so
it's not.
You can't
but it
afford
just
not to buy it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not. I think it's awesome they even offer it. A lot of places, a lot of the access points don't even offer outdoor, versions. You end up buying something completely different. And I'm still exploring the opportunity to actually add one outside. I may wait till summer where I can actually use it for something, but just to get a even deeper penetration of signal and be able to, increase the signal strength just a bit, even though, like I said, right now I'm not seeing any issue with just a single device.
So it comes with some type of cloud-based software that manages it, and you can see who's attached and.
You can do. There's some tremendous reporting. You can see who's attached. You can get some graphs. You can see what devices are using it the most. You can see bandwidth. You can see what they're connected at. You can see just a huge amount. I've actually got on my blog. I've got a write-up on it that shows some screenshots. But it's and I think they have a sort of a demo type thing on their website that shows you what CloudTrax does. It's really, really elegant, and you can, to be able to go in there and configure an access point with just a MAC address is cool. I mean, you can just go in there and name your SSIDs. You can enable guests. You can disable guests. You can control bandwidth, and you can throttle bandwidth as well as time on the guest network. So if you want to create a guest network for home, you can actually put some controls in place so that your guests don't commandeer all your bandwidth. So it's really a nice turnkey solution. You might argue it's a bit overkill for the home, but to me, the interface and the way you configure this thing really lends itself for the home user because it's simple and it works. Even though the performance, the specs, the features are aimed at a business that has 20 of these.
Yeah. So, and this is a true roaming product? I know you've only bought one access point.
Yeah, yeah, and it by default it configures a single when you configure, say, SSID number 2, it configures that SSID will branch automatically across all your access points. It'll branch automatically across your 2.4 and 5 gigahertz channels. So you're basically looking at one broadcast SSID, and it handles all of the handoff and all that.
Wow. So there's, I mean, because if you wanted to, they do have some like desktop type access points. Now that's not 802.11ac, but there are some 450 megabit per second desktop access points. They're $135.
Yeah, and I might be wrong on this, but I believe you can actually still mesh some of their different access points together, even though there'll be limitations because you're not going to mesh. If your access point is tapped out at 2.4, it's only going to mesh with the 2.4. But and obviously, if one of them doesn't support AC, that's not going to work. But I believe they allow you to configure and do that if you need to. I don't know that I would do that. I think I would stick with picking an access point that you like, and if you need more than one, you buy another one of the same thing. It's less prone to problems that way.
Right. Very interesting. Yeah, they've got all kinds of enclosures, 12-port PoE injector, so rack mount PoE injector. That's pretty neat. Indoor Ethernet enclosure. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously ceiling mounted, the ability to ceiling mount them. So that's pretty cool too. Wow, okay, so that's open mesh. Anybody else? I've seen, we got someone in chat said, look at Exclaim. So that's the letter X, claim, wireless.com. Now that's a cloud manager. 100% free business class Wi-Fi cloud management solution. Don't know what this is. I will look at it though. They're selling their own access points. So
I can tell you right now, looking at the screens, they have taken some of the concepts and setups from OpenMesh.
okay.
And it wouldn't surprise me if some of it's private labeled, because the screen is very, very similar to that when you log in.
Okay.
Not exactly, but it's very similar.
Because you can private label OpenMesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got it's a 802.11ac. It's $250.
Yeah, and you'll find, at least I found, that when I looked at competitive products that were in the same caliber, with the same level of performance, they're all up in that price range. I mean, you're probably looking at 180 to 250 range, in some cases a little bit more than that.
All right, so we're going to take that one to the forums as well. That link will be inside the show notes if you'd like to jump over. You can actually just search Open Mesh in the forums and you'll find that topic. They're also out there, these guys in their big time networking, talking about 10 gig Ethernet, and we're just going to breeze over that. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. 10 gig networking. Guys are talking about how to get into the switches and get into cards and make that as affordable as possible. I announced a couple of weeks ago that I was going to try to move Jim from my 2012 server to Synology, and I was met with a little hesitation because I've always been a server guy. And you and I been talking about it. We talked about it at Summit. We were roomies at MVP Summit there in Bellevue, Washington. And I have made the jump about I would say about 98%.
And what's the 2% that's holding you back?
It's the wife. She doesn't know yet. So she's still connected to the old server where everything's familiar, right? So all I got to do is, basically all I got to do is just put a new icon on her desktop.
Yep. Yeah, just change the share and move it over. Yeah.
And then it'll be business as usual. We'll be sitting there and she'll go, what am I supposed to do again? Click that icon, go to photos, go to 2015. Oh, okay, there they are.
Yeah.
Go to Italy. Yeah, there's our vacation.
There
right
it
there.
is.
Yeah. So actually, it's 100%, Jim. I still have the server powered on. That's the thing. It's still powered on. It's still doing its thing. It's still a domain controller. It's actually a domain controller for this PC that I have on right now. And it is also that Windows 7 PC that's running Hyper-V for my Ubiquity network, which is completely unplugged. I have 3 access points completely unplugged.
Yeah. So is the network even really running? It's not, right? With you have them all unplugged?
I have a single TP-Link, a $36 TP-Link access point. It's only 2.4 gigahertz.
Yep.
But it was my backup system, right? So it's the emergency system. If something were to break while I'm gone, I would be like, okay, go upstairs, grab that thing with the 3 sticks on the back of it, plug it in, and you'll get some type of Wi-Fi. So that's kind of how I roll. You'll just plug it in, turn it on, and I can coach someone through that, right? I cannot coach someone through, okay, open a browser, go to your TCP/IP properties, change your IP address, log into the website, change the SSID, change the, you just have it running. For $36, you can have it on the shelf, ready to go in case, fire and brimstone. Kevin, the Wi-Fi's out, The Synology, I'm on a Synology 1813 Plus. It's slower. I mean, I've done big transfers to it, and I've done big transfers to the server. It's not RAID 5. I was going to say it's RAID 5, but it's not. I'm running StableBit drive pool on that server, and it's still, 2 times as fast. So if I can transfer at 50 megabits per second, I can transfer to the server at 100 megabits per second. It's still a lot faster. But I don't do that a lot anymore, right? I need static storage.
That's also dependent on the NAS unit you have, because I can hit close to 120 on mine, and it's a really relatively low end QNAP.
And I haven't done any type of like teaming, and I need to do that. I need to do some interface teaming on that thing to speed it up.
Helps quite a bit.
So I just haven't jumped into some stuff like that. But one thing I did do is, I know you guys have heard me talk about this before. My 2012 R2 server was kind of this central backup server, not just for my home network, but for my websites as well. My websites would do backups. They would throw the backups of all the forums. So you're talking home automation forums, smartwareforums.com, surfacegeeks.net forums, homeservershow.com forums. All those forums. Each one of those has a website, plus my mccabe.io website, the geeksnetwork.com website. Tons of stuff. All that stuff backs up, dumps into a folder on my web server out there on the internet, and my 2012 R2 server every night would go get it and pull it down. That's a lot of data. Pull all that down. Well, with the NAS, I couldn't necessarily do that, right? I just, Windows has software. Someone's built software. For a NAS, you're kind of in their ecosystem, right? You are locked down to what they provide you. Now, I always knew that there were other pieces of software you could run on a Synology, right? But it's kind of like jailbreaking your phone. You know that you can jailbreak the phone and run additional software. That's cool. But sometimes it's a security risk and you don't want to do so because that software was not written by Synology. So there are other Synology repositories out there. You can actually go into plugins for your Synology NAS and change where it should look for software. Actually, you can add a repository, and when it'll actually this is a supported thing to do via Synology. You're not breaking any rules here. It'll give you a new tab called Community. You click on Community, and all that software that was written for your NAS will pop up. I'll put some links in the show notes. If you're running a Synology today, I'll put some links out there so you can go read about these packages of software that do some very targeted things for your box. A lot of like I don't want to like torrent type stuff. You know, people are into downloads. There's a lot of stuff to do with downloads and moving files and doing all this stuff. I thought that might be able to help me, you know, get my backups from my web server and put onto my local server in case the web server was to catch on fire, explode, and blow up. I would have, you know, 8 years of website and 5-6 years of forum posts. 5 or 6 years of forum posts. This is my lifeblood. If I lose that, you know, all that monetization, everything is gone. All that information, that stuff we just talked about, open mesh, gone. It no longer lives. It's gone. I don't want to lose that. People entrust me not to lose that. You know, and that's why I ask you to, you know, buy my Amazon link so I can pay for all this crap. So I figured out a way with the Synology without using add-on software with all these community packages of software. I didn't have to do that. I just used their task scheduler. Now, in the Windows days, we would open Notepad and we would write a batch file, right? Then we'd go to a C prompt. We'd rename that thing from, you know, run.txt to run.bat, and then we would schedule it with Task Scheduler. X copies, you know, delete directories, whatever. It ran fine. That's basically what you're doing with Task Scheduler. So if you own a Synology, you can go out to your control panel, look at Task Scheduler. You can actually run. I will give you some commands. Actually, I'll send you some links. I'll put them in the show notes of commands that you can run in your Task Scheduler without any need to write batch files. You can just schedule a task to move a directory if you want to. Now, I'm doing a lot of extra stuff, so I wrote, it's just a script. It's just A to B script. You know, check this directory. If something's in this directory, you know, copy it over. So let me back up. I'm using Dropbox now. I haven't used Dropbox in probably 5 years. But some of my software packages out there on the internet recognize Dropbox more than they recognize anything else. Because Dropbox has been around. It was the first like shared platform, cloud-based platform, and had open API, so everybody wrote their software to, you could use Dropbox, you know, just put it in your Dropbox. Well, I do. I put all those backups into my Dropbox. They probably only sit there for 4 hours at a max. My script runs every 4 hours and checks, is there anything out there in home server show? Dropbox folder. Yes? Okay, pull it down. Well, not only pull it down, but move it from the Dropbox folder. Because if I left those website backups in that Dropbox folder, the next night it would be full. And it wouldn't do it. It would just say, I'm full. You got to pay for more Dropbox. Well, I don't want to do that. So I have another script that runs on the Synology. It says, look in the Dropbox folder. If there's something in it, move it over to this folder over here. Delete what's in the Dropbox folder, so it clears it out every night. I pull the files out of Dropbox, secure them on my NAS, delete the Dropbox folder. The website does its thing. The next night, backs everything up. I don't know how I started this conversation with you, Jim and Mike, but I moved over to the NAS. So that was one of the big things. I could not wholeheartedly move from Windows Server 2012 R2 with the Essentials connector to a NAS without being able to do that service, because my software out there was doing that. So now I can actually turn that server off. I want to pull my Core i7 box off of the domain. I want to do that. Not quite sure how I do that without messing up.
Makes me cry a little bit inside, Dave.
It does.
I'm not gonna lie. It makes me cry. We've done servers for a long time together. You know, and I can't. I still, I don't back up to those servers anymore, to the 2012 box. It's just too much. It's just too much trouble. But works great for files and VMs and those kinds of things. But makes me a little sad inside. I'm dying a little bit inside.
I know, but here's the deal. I think I'm going to keep it. I may turn it off for a while. I have the OS in a mirror on 2 SSDs. Okay, so that's a good thing. I have another set of mirrored SSDs in the server, and then I have a bunch of drives. I would say a stack of hard drives in a drive pool. So I will be able to reclaim those and at least turn that off. So I would like to reduce my power consumption with this server, because I'm sure it's ungodly. And maybe keep it as I can turn on a Hyper-V and run some Windows 7 if I need to. That's kind of my fallback. If I need some software to work, you got to turn to Windows 7. Or at least Windows 8 or 8.1, and get something to run. So I think I will keep the server built. I will not repurpose it, but I will pull out some hard drives. I think I will at least do that. And I've been toying with the idea of taking out some of these SSDs that I have and doing some caching on that Synology. You guys know that you can burn a slot in your NAS and throw an SSD in there and do some, intelligent caching. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll do some things like that. So I'm doing that. I got to start backing up PCs to the Synology. I back up the Mac to it. I use it as home drives, user drives. And I'll start using it as Plex. That's the second step, is to try to use it more as a Plex server. Not necessarily just to stream, but I am getting into downloads. Synology and QNAP both have download stations, and you can somewhat easily tell it to look for a file that you have rights to, download that, and you can watch that file later on in life. So I've done that a couple of times on some things that, like some episodes you miss on your DVR, or someone deletes it accidentally. You just go out there and find it. I'm sure that's not going to crater the networks by finding one episode, of something you missed. But that can throw right into a Plex directory, and you can Plex just says, oh, there it is. I'll play that right there. You want to play that on my client or your Windows client or your Roku client, knock yourself out. It's here for you. So that's kind of what I'm out there for. So the Earth has moved. Mm-hmm. We have a new host. And I'm not running a server anymore. That's crazy.
Well, you are.
I am. Yeah, I am, but
I am laughing because what you're going through. Obviously, I went through already, and I actually ended up keeping a server, but it's a backup to the NAS, if that makes sense. It's actually became the a secondary. I'm using storage server. I'm not using Essentials, or I don't want anything to do with Active Directory or anything like that. But I'm using it as I'm using a straight storage server 2012 as a backup box, and I still use my old faithful always sync and back up everything, all the contents on the NAS over to this server box, which all of them have WD-RED drives in them. So I've been able to manage to lower the power footprint by almost 50% between switching to a NAS and looking at more efficient drives and so on.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm after too. And I do have via the same task scheduler, I have a system in place where now I don't have it perfect right now. These two NAS boxes are sitting beside each other. But my most important data, that does not include DVD rips, my most important data, my user data, my documents, my tags, all that stuff, my photos, my home movies, copies back and forth from one NAS to the other NAS. And that happens several times during the day. I don't remember the schedule, but what I'll do is I will separate those within the house, so they're not sitting beside each other. So bad guy comes in, he goes, "Oh, look at that big heavy things I'm going to unplug, steal, and go sell for some crystal meth." Great, he's got both of my boxes. Well, hopefully, if bad guy comes in, he'll find one and not the other one. So I'll always have a copy, on premise. If not, I am using OneDrive sync. I know we've had some issues with OneDrive lately, announcing they're not using or they're not giving unlimited storage anymore. Okay, that's fine. That was right after I created my sync to my Synology. So I take a picture with my phone. If my phone is connected to my local Wi-Fi actually works. That phone will upload the photo to OneDrive. Well, the NAS will see that in like 12 seconds. They'll say, "Whoa, a new photo." Pull it down. It's on my Synology. Bam, just like that. So I'm sure Microsoft would like me to delete it from OneDrive now that I've copied it down locally, but I'm not going to because I have unlimited or 1 terabyte, whatever. You guys affected by any of that OneDrive stuff?
Nope.
Nope.
No, I put quite a few. I put stuff out there, but I've got the, I've got the Office 365, and so no, not enough that it makes a difference.
For I think most people, the change from unlimited to 1 terabyte is, I don't know if it's all that big a deal. It certainly wasn't to me. I wouldn't want to put over 1 terabyte of stuff on a cloud service. Mm-hmm. Forget the bandwidth you have. It's going to take you forever to put it up there.
Yeah, makes me nervous anyway. Yeah, I have a terabyte, and they announced that right after I made the decision to start syncing down, which it's no big deal. I mean, if I had to pay for it, I'd pay for it. I still use Crash Plan on the server, which I'll always have that. And that's the other thing is that, man, I just paid for a renewal of Crash Plan, so I'll have to figure out how to do that. And I know I can run a Java app on the Synology. It's not supported, so I don't want to do that. It's kind of messy, actually. I know the QNAP has a QNAP supported app for Crash Plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it's they have a QNAP supported app for Crash Plan, Glacier, S3, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive. They have a pretty good selection, and of course they have their own real-time sync application, which is sort of what I thought when you were talking about backing up your websites. Surprised you couldn't actually do something like that.
I'll look at it. I do have right behind me, behind the Channel 9 guy right there, is a QNAP dual drive. That'd be
That's
kind
a
of cool.
251 or something?
Yeah, 251. That'd be
Hmm.
kind of cool if I could mirror my important data off of that Synology over to this QNAP and have the QNAP push that up to my existing crash plan account so I don't have to lose that data that's out there.
You can do that. There's actually like a module called, I believe it's called RTRR or something. It's a real-time replication module which you can tune, and it's a NAS to NAS type configuration. You can just create the rules and the to and from. It's really simple to set up, and you can back up, those folders from NAS to NAS, and then like you mentioned, use Crash Plan to take it off of your 251 and show it up to to the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. I have yet to really use the QNAP. It looks the same, but then again, it's like, okay, I've learned these systems, right? I've learned Windows Server, I've learned Synology box, and now I got to go learn this other thing. So it's just one of those things where it takes time. I need to dedicate some time to do that.
The learning curve between Synology and QNAP isn't that big. It's probably much less than going from Windows Server to either one of those.
Yeah, it did look very similar. So I look forward to that. And I bought this thing months ago. I need to get using it. Now my biggest thing is I forgot what I did. I took a couple of DVD rips and I put them on a thumb drive and I brought them with me somewhere. I can't even remember what I was using, but they wouldn't play. And I was looking at the format of the file, and it was an MPEG, not an MPEG 4, but it was an MPEG, MPG. It was huge. So this got me thinking. I need to start a new thread in the forums, and I've probably started 100 of these. That I was thinking about re-ripping the DVD collection that none of my family members watch. I don't know why. So I either need a bullet in my brain or someone to knock some sense into me. We never stream the movies. We never do. We grab a Blu-ray off the shelf and we play it if we want to. The boys play DVDs in the car till they wear the whatever surface off of the thing, putting it in and out, scratching it up. But we never really stream. But I thought, if I'm going whole hog with this Synology thing, and I've got the Plex app, I could start using the Plex app on the Roku. We use the Roku a lot. I could use Synology's got an app for video for the Roku. We could use that as well. So am I crazy, guys? Do I need to start re-ripping my movies, converting my movies? I don't think they're in a format
that's a rabbit hole, Dave.
I know.
That is just such a rabbit hole to jump down into.
I'm pretty sure the MPEG stuff that you have, if it's in can be containerized in an MKV and not re-ripped, and it will play fine with Plex. You certainly should try that, because the Plex only understands MKVs and MP4s.
Okay.
It only understands those containers. The actual format, it'll play anything, but it has to see those containers in order for it to, provide the metadata and provide, understand that file is there. So that's something I had to do a while back, is take all my native Blu-ray rips, which are all in folders, and containerize them, which it's extremely fast, because you're going to take the content as it stands and basically put it in a different package. So on a DVD, it's probably, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. It takes about 8 minutes, 9 minutes to do a Blu-ray. So it's a really quick process, and if it will play those, then you probably don't have to re-rip them.
Okay. Well, that would be optimal. What I've done is I did all this with my movies. back in the day. And then I even had it do a mobile rip. So the weird thing is I've got a DVD, and it has. I'm trying to find it as I talk here. It has folders. So let's take this. It's got the video TS folders, right? So it's got that.
Right.
And it's got all the DVD stuff in there, so you get the menus and all that good stuff. But it also has the MPEG file. So I'm just looking at this movie here. The MPEG, the .mpg file is 4.3 gig. This is not Blu-ray. 4 gig. Okay, so that's DVD, 4 gig. Video TS folders. Let's see the size of that. 6.7 gig. One DVD that I do not watch is 10 gig of space on my server. I'm just thinking that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm wondering how you got a DVD that big, because somehow it grew, because you don't have the DVD isn't that big in the first place, so you've managed to create more space than was originally transferred. So I don't know if you're upscaling, I'm not sure how you have your My Movies set up, but you probably should take a look at that and look at your mobile version that you're ripping, because that mobile version should really be an MP4 in a different folder somewhere.
It should. I agree. I completely agree.
That's how I do it.
This .mpeg is 720 by 480.
Right, which should be the movie. It sounds like you're making 3 copies of it.
And then I also have, if you go into, I have a converted movie. Let's look at the same title. Converted movie to an MP4, which is 1.3 gigs.
That's high, but it's closer. I mean, on DVD to an MPEG-4 should probably be well below a gigabyte. It should probably be in the 700, 800 range.
Now, what gets me is that the frame width is 704 by 464. It's just this whacked out frame width.
You upscaled. Somehow you upscaled. Or attempted to upscale. That's why you got some weird file sizes, because you're attempting to create a file format or a ratio that doesn't exist. So you went and probably upscaled it somehow to a 720p type thing.
Yeah. That's just lovely.
Yeah. That's. It still may play, though. It would still be worth getting the free version of MKV and doing a couple of tests and repackaging your DVDs and see if you can just simplify your life all the way around. You're going to have to do that anyway if you even think about using Plex. And I assume you weren't planning on putting Plex on the Synology.
This device is not going to transcode. I mean, I need something that would stream something natively. So, I mean, my goal would be is if there's something that would stream very friendly from the Synology to a Roku, I would find what that format, what that bit rate, what that audio codec, make everything perfect. That's what I would try to do. I don't know if that exists. I know that
Windows Media Center.
Yeah, I mean, we still use Media Center. I just rebuilt one, we're using it, but we've never watched movies off of it.
I mean, I'm halfway joking. I got rid of mine, but anything else that is going to try to transcode. Plex is going to try and transcode if it's not hardwired in. If it's hardwired in and you're just putting your files on your NAS, it works great. You can use direct play on your Roku or whatever you're playing Plex from, and it's fine. It's not going to choke trying to do anything with it. But the minute you go across Wi-Fi or mobile, it's going to say, I don't think so. It's going to measure that it can't handle that kind of bit rate, and it's going to transcode. And the minute that happens, you're not going to be able to play anything. So, if the Plex server is on the Synology, if it's sitting in a VM somewhere or on a different machine or a desktop or whatever, and all your files are stored on the Synology, no problem. That's actually a great way to go.
Okay. But I mean, we're talking Synology to Roku.
Mm-hmm.
The Synology is definitely not direct connected to a TV like a QNAP can with the HDMI out.
No, I don't mean that. I meant if your Roku is through hardwire Ethernet
Yeah.
to your NAS, and your Roku's set to play direct play, it won't transcode.
Okay. Direct play. That sounds like the keyword I need. Do some MP4s. Do some standard. I'll look at some standard frame sizes to do with these standard DVDs. I mean, they should not be upscaled to 720p.
Right.
Looks like what happened in some of my. Maybe I was doing some Blu-rays one day and then I screwed up and did this one.
Yeah, you either downgraded some Blu-rays or upgraded some DVDs.
That's right. Is reason I think I need to start over, and I don't think I need to store these video TS folders anymore because I've been doing it for years. I've just stored it and stored it and stored it. So crazy, crazy, crazy. You guys can get out there in the forums and make fun of me all you want. Start some threads. We will address that stuff in the forums. I know I've gone kind of long. I'm at about an hour and 40 minutes on the podcast now, so I apologize for that. But and I know I've talked quite tremendously by myself. These guys didn't get a big chance to talk, but this is like an episode that I've been saving show notes and links for quite some time. So this is kind of my show. I was going to end up doing this by myself if we couldn't get together. But in the future, Mike and Jim will actually be contributing a little more because we're going to have this whole Mr. Fauché as a host. I'm not going to jinx it and say that officially, but we're going to do some test run, try to get him through some of that Southern California traffic and to a broadcast location where we can actually throw some topics out there for you guys and talk about it. So, having said that, if there's something that you guys would like us to cut through before the end of 2015, just let us know. Talk to us out there in the forums. There is some specific spots out there on the forums to talk about the shows. And I don't know, Mike. We'll see what we can do.
Sounds good.
All right, Jim.
Yeah,
I
learned a lot tonight.
It's
good. Good.
I talked a lot.
You did.
I usually don't do that. I usually just sit back.
That's all good. It's all good. I've had a long week already, and it was just kind of nice to sit back and listen, and let you get it out. So meanwhile, it's ironically I was working on my own Plex server. You were talking about changing your server. I'm going to move Plex from the Drobo to the Windows Server 2012 box in a VM. That's just it's time to do that for me.
Move.
Get it off the Drobo. Yeah, it's worked great, Mike, on the Drobo. It's been fine. I'm not moving it for any reason. The Drobo will still continue to be the storage for the movies.
You're not playing Blu-rays, obviously.
No, I'm obviously not playing Blu-rays off of that. No, and we, it's one of those things we don't do it a lot. Like Dave says, it's like I rip all these things, and then it's actually probably me, or every once in a while Sarah will say, "Hey, is that on the server?" And I go, "No." And so it's just one of those kinds of things I've tried to get with my movies and stuff. I just try to do it when I want to do it, and if I got them on there, I do. If not, it's not a big deal. But so tonight, as we were talking about it, I've got a Windows 7 instance up on 2012 R2, and the intention of that was to install Plex on it and make that kind of a media center box. I could do it on 10, I guess. I've got a instance of Windows 10 running up there. I could do it that way, but 7 will run it just fine.
Yeah, I've run them on both. Plex server runs on just about anything. I initially had it running on 7, I had it running on 8, 8.1, and now it's running on 10.
Yeah. So that's the plan at this point. Move it over onto the server and run it in a small instance there, and pick it up from there.
Well, if I decide to re-rip this stuff and put it into a flavor which I can hopefully watch on the Roku, I'll definitely catch back up with you guys because I do have quite an extensive Blu-ray collection that I don't watch myself, but I think that if I did have that online, I would probably watch from time to time. At least catch some of the like I've got the Breaking Bad collection in the big container, and I don't watch that. I don't sit down and shovel in, discs.
No.
I think I would like to watch some of those extras and stuff that are on those discs.
I'm so busy trying to figure out how to do all this stuff, I never actually watch it.
You never enjoy it, yeah.
You rip all this stuff, you get it put on the server, you get it all backed up, you get it all duplicated, you get it all figured out, and then you're like, God, I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
But we get yelled at less if we have our stuff backed up.
Oh, sure. For sure.
Or available to watch online. All right, guys, so that's been episode number 292. Don't forget about the forums, homeservershow.com/forums. Please rate us in iTunes. If you think about it, head out to the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com. You can find this podcast, Jim's podcast, all kinds of other cool stuff. We didn't even get into home automation tonight. I wanted to do a home automation corner, and I think that I'm going to do that from here on out is carve out a little bit of home automation into this home server, home media realm that everything is just getting jumbled together into the home. I think we picked a good topic. We just kind of migrating from home server to media to automation to home gadget geeks to Surface geeks, and we got a good thing going here. You just got to go listen to all those podcasts.
It's funny. So tomorrow we're going to talk about the new Xbox experience on Home Gadget Geeks. So with Mike, bringing on Mike Uyghur, he wants to talk Xbox, and so I thought I was bringing an Apple guy on the program. And he is actually leaning. He's begun to lean towards Microsoft over the last couple months, and a big Xbox guy. And of course, we're trying to get on a Windows 10. So if you haven't picked up Home Gadget Geeks, come on over. We kind of all shift around and try to avoid each other where we can, so we're not repeating the same content. But it's come on by. We're going to talk about, and actually tomorrow on Home Gadget Geeks, we're going to talk about John Larson, a buddy of mine from town. He's got this little, if you think about a lens cap for a 35 millimeter camera. If you took that lens cap and made the thickness about the size of maybe an iPhone or maybe two, and then that's the receiver, that's the lens for the phone, for the camera, and then you pair it with your phone, and that becomes the viewer, and you just can plug that onto any 35 millimeter lens, take pictures. It's incredible what this thing can do. And so, we're not talking about, this isn't designed to go out and take wedding photography with. This is small, light, put on a lens and go take some pictures using your phone as the viewer. And so we're talking about that. I think that'll be really interesting. I don't think a lot of people have seen this. So if you're out there, jump over to Home Gadget Geeks. Although if you're listening to this, we've probably long since done that. So pop over there and catch the recording.
Yeah, you can just go download it. It should be in your podcast player anyway.
It should.
Don't forget homeautomationforums.com. Posting a lot of stuff out there. And I've got my Z-Wave sprinkler was delivered to me. So great Kickstarter, finally delivered. Although my sprinkler system has been winterized.
As you're blowing all the water out of your sprinkler system already for the winter.
Yeah, so I'm not going to hook that up and freeze my lines, but I will unbox it and put it on a video, and we'll have some fun with that. So it's been a long night. Thanks, Mike, for coming out. I know it's only 2 p.m. there in California, but it's 11 here, so I'm going to bed.
Yeah, it's late for you guys. I appreciate it, Dave. Appreciate it, Dave, for having me on and putting the podcast a little bit later. So it was a lot of fun.
No, good to have you back, Mike.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll try to go. We'll try to go every other week on Home Server Show. It will be at 9:30 Eastern. If not, I will tweet it. So follow me at Home Server Show on Twitter or McCabe.io. It's been 292. We're getting out of here. See you in the forums. Woo! Almost 2 hours.
It's been a while since we've done that one that long. That used to be, for a while, that was pretty standard.
Yeah, it's not hard to go a couple hours, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, I did a presentation today on a lot of our social media stuff that we're doing for Gallup, and it felt like 10 minutes, and it was 45. just like that. I look up at the clock. They're like, yeah, you can end about, I think 12:15. So I'm going along, and I'm thinking, okay, I've probably got 5 minutes left. I look up the clock. Not even. I'd blown right through it, and it just goes so fast.
It does.
Oh, darn you.
Oh, that was fun.
Yep. I got to go have another cup of coffee.
I'm going to go have dinner.
I'm going to go to bed. I am super tired.
All right.
All right, guys.
We'll catch you guys later.
Thanks,
You
guys.
bet.
Thanks a bunch.
All right, man. Good seeing you.
Good night.
Good seeing
Okay,
you.
see you, Dave. You bet.
Bye.
Bye-bye.